Chicago gangsters making threats toward the United States military's National Guard. That's one of the most preposterous things I've heard of in a long time. And it's already been done. It's been done before, Chicago gangsters. Hear me out. Take a moment. If you got any kind of common sense, which I believe that some of y'all do, hear me out. It's been done before in the city of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. And I'm from New Orleans and I witnessed it in New Orleans, Ninth Ward, and in the city of New Orleans firsthand. I witnessed the National Guard, United States military, get down with so-called thugs on the street. And it never ended well for the thugs on the street. They always wind up in handcuffs. Here's the story. So as you all know, if you watch The Pen and the Shank, my channel, I am a prison and crime related channel from the city of New Orleans, or in the New Orleans area, rough about. Something I did that I don't talk about often is after I got out of prison, I helped plant a church in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans. That's right, in the notorious Ninth Ward of New Orleans, I helped, in the upper Ninth Ward, I helped plant a church on Alvar Street. If you know anything about the Ninth Ward, you know Alvar Street is one of the main streets that run through the Ninth Ward. And while we were planting the church, we spent many nights inside the Ninth Ward. Many nights. We would get at the church in the morning and we wouldn't leave sometimes till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. We would literally work physically to get the church up and running and to just help the community out, to try to help the people out and doing ministry work. Well, one thing that happened, because this church plant was literally after Hurricane Katrina. It was like maybe we planted the church maybe about a year after Hurricane Katrina. So the city was still, I mean, if you know anything about New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, it was like a war. It looked like a war zone had come through the city. Everything was in disarray. Houses just sat vacant. You know, there was stench, there was blight, there was emptiness and idleness. There was literally nothing. The environment was really, really rough. And the mindset that helped the people in New Orleans survive was really rough. People had to have that mindset that, you know, nothing's gonna move me. If a hurricane can't move me, nothing else ain't gonna move me. And listen, before Hurricane Katrina, most people grew up in the city of New Orleans. We really hadn't experienced a hurricane of that magnitude. Most people that were living at that time, including myself, right? Because the people who would have experienced a hurricane at that magnitude would have been Hurricane Betsy, which was quite a ways away, and a lot of people weren't alive during Hurricane Betsy. So when Hurricane Katrina came, it wrecked shop, it closed shop, it shut down everything. If you thought you were somebody, well, you thought again, because Hurricane Katrina shut that down. It didn't matter if you had money or didn't have money. Hurricane Katrina destroyed everything in its path. Now, the National Guard came into the city of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. They had to come into the city of New Orleans. They were all about and around the city of New Orleans. The city was without power. It was literally at nighttime, you couldn't see anything. It was pitch black throughout the city. People could roam and to and fro, and you would not been able to have seen anybody or anything. It was crazy, man. They had chickens and ducks and dogs and cats and vagabonds everywhere. And regular people weren't here. There was no power. There was no running water. There was no reason to be in the city. Well, so the National Guard comes to the city of New Orleans to help keep things in order and to help save lives. That's what the National Guard does, y'all. Why would you threaten the National Guard? The National Guard is sent in to save lives. They're sent in to help the community, not to destroy it. The president's Donald Trump is sending the National Guard to Chicago to help save people, not to hurt and harm people. Why would you fools feel like you have to threaten the National Guard? And furthermore, let's get into it what I witnessed. This is what I witnessed with the National Guard in the Ninth Ward of New Orleans. It's been done before. I personally saw one time where the New Orleans Police Department had tussled with a dude. They were wrestling. Dude got the best of them. Two New Orleans police officers. They couldn't get the dude under control and subdue him and put handcuffs on him. And he wound up scrapping with him. He's lucky he didn't get their strap and blast him, if you know what I mean. But he didn't, and he wound up running. Well, the National Guard, they come pulling up on a Humvee, about 3 or 4 dudes. The dude ran. The cops were out of shape and worn out. They couldn't do nothing. The National Guard literally went into a yard underneath a house. They went under a house. They set their M16 down, and one of them went underneath the house. In New Orleans, houses are raised on the ground. They call shotgun houses. This dude went underneath the house and pulled the thug from underneath the house. They were tussling and fighting. He hog-tied him and literally drug him to the front and gave him to the New Orleans Police Department. Dude's like, man, say, bro, y'all got me down bad. Say, y'all got me down. And look, it wasn't all of them. Just one National Guard member went in there and got one thug by himself. He left his rifle in the car. He didn't even use that. He just went in there. He got dirty. He went underneath the house. And listen, if you know anything about these shotgun houses, it's only like 2 feet, so it's crawl space only. So he was underneath the crawl space, and he went and got the dude from underneath that crawl space. Another time, I seen the New Orleans Police Department put a perimeter off right next to the church we were planting. They blocked a whole block radius, you know what I mean, square, block it. New Orleans police couldn't do anything. They were like, well, we believe the suspect is in the block, but the New Orleans Police Department wouldn't do nothing. So I'm talking to a partner of mine from the Ninth Ward. You know, he grew up in the Ninth Ward. He caught charges in the Ninth Ward, went to jail in the Ninth Ward, probably got a body or two in the Ninth Ward. I'm talking to him, we chopping it up. He said, say G, he used to call me G. He said, say G. He said, man, let us see them NOPD. I said, yeah, that's the police department. He said, man, them dudes cowards, man, they ain't gonna do nothing. I said, they cowards? He said, to me, they cowards. To the community, they cowards. They ain't gonna do nothing. They're not gonna go get that dude. That dude ain't gonna get caught. He said, see them National Guard? They about to get that boy. I said, they about to get him? He said, watch. So we sat there and watched. As soon as the National Guard got there, they locked the whole block down. They had a Humvee on each corner, and they had 2 people watching, which was a total of 4 people watching each corner, and they were watching everything while about another 3 of them took their shirt off, you know, the camouflage, and they just had the t-shirt on, the green t-shirt. They all went in there. They went into that block. They got 2 suspects and brought them out. You could hear them wrestling, screaming, fighting. They brought them out. I said, man, them National Guard, they get their hands dirty. He said, say, G, I got respect for the National Guard. Let me tell you what I saw a couple weeks ago. I said, what you seen, bruh? He said, man, the NOPD was out there, and they had a bunch of people. They had a scene on their hand, and the dudes were like, man, I bet y'all ain't gonna take that badge and that gun off and fight. He said, the NOPD was like, nah, we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that. The National Guard pull up. And the same dude who was yelling and screaming at the NOPD to put their gun down and put their badge down, and they ain't, without that, they ain't nothing but cowards. He told that to the National Guardsmen. He said, I bet y'all put them M16 down, y'all ain't nothing without it. National Guard said, no problem. They said the National Guardman put his M16 down, took his shirt off, and got in a fist fight with the dude who wanted it, one-on-one, to the chest, chin to chin. They got in a fist fight. When it was over with, the dude looked at the National Guard, said, man, I got respect for y'all, but y'all really don't need that. He said these dudes were like, look, we don't hide behind nothing. This is just our job. We're here to help you. But if you want to fight, we like to fight. We train fighting. We do this. So they would be willing to fist fight you, the National Guardsmen. And I want you to keep in mind, Chicago, these people are coming in to help the community. They help the city of New Orleans. They help keep the city of New Orleans safe. They help keep burglars, right? Thieves and rioters at bay. That's what they did in the city of New Orleans. They're coming to Chicago to help Chicago. So don't be stupid and don't go around talking about you got switches. Furthermore, what is a switch going to do to an active military platoon or unit? What you gonna do? These dudes are trained. This unit is trained. And you know what? It's the National Guard. And I know that the Chicago gangsters, it don't matter who y'all are, I know the gangs, you can't beat the National Guard. What you gonna do when they send the Green Berets in Black Ops and Special Forces? They'll take every gangster out in a couple nights. Over, done. They got the equipment, the manpower, and the training. You just do not have it. That's stupid. Furthermore, they're coming to help the community. Why do you want to keep crime in the community? They're coming to shut shop down. Don't you want your mothers and your grandmothers protected? No, you're gangsters. You want to destroy your mothers and grandmothers because you're acting like chumps and you're in your 40s and 50s and 30s and you still didn't grow up. Now, if you're in your 20s, you're probably still an idiot and you're eventually going to wind up in prison anyway where you belong. Hopefully, when you get to prison, you change your life. Chicago gangsters, this is going to go bad for you. I've seen the National Guard in the city of New Orleans, and they stayed here for years to help after Hurricane Katrina. And you know what? They actually treated people with respect and with dignity, and the community liked them for the most part. I ain't gonna say there's a couple stories here and there where it might not have been this and that and the other, but for the most part, the community respected the National Guard. The National Guard respected the community and helped the community. And you know what? When it came down to it, the National Guard will go toe to toe and chest to chest with you. So there's that. Give me a like and subscribe to the Pen and the Shank. Let's get it.